The verbal section of the GMAT. First of all, I'll acknowledge that for some people this can be a little bit intimidating, especially, for example, if you focused in college on something more technical and weren't doing a whole lot of reading and writing. That might make the verbal section a little bit intimidating, and even more so if English is not your first language. If you're coming to English as a second language, that does add an extra layer of challenge to the GMAT verbal section. Take a nice deep breath, relax. Magoosh has several verbal lessons. We can teach you everything you need to know, all the content and all the strategies you need to be successful in the GMAT, even if you're coming to English as a second language. Right now, we're just going to talk about the organization of the section. The verbal section of the GMAT is the fourth and final section of the test. You will have 75 minutes for 41 questions, which is between 90 seconds and 2 minutes per question. The verbal section has 3 question types: reading comprehension, critical reasoning, and sentence correction. You will see about 13 to 14 of each of these 3 types, and all questions are in the 5-choice, multiple-choice format. So the very standardized test kind of format. What's on these 3 types? Well, reading comprehension is probably the most familiar question type. In other words, you're going to get a passage, then you're going to get questions about the passage. Why did the author mention such and such? What is the main idea? That sort of thing. The 4 major subject areas are physical science, life science, social sciences, and business. So if you're going to do some reading on your own to prepare for this, these are the types of subjects you should be reading. I'll point out also that the reading comprehension questions tend to be batched together. In other words, you get a passage and then you get 3 to 4 questions focusing just on that one passage. So they're batched together, unlike the other question types. Critical reasoning is about the analysis of arguments. And so, for example, they're going to present an argument. It might be a very strong argument. It might be a very weak argument. And then they're going to ask you questions about the argument. You know, what would strengthen the argument? How would you weaken the argument? What's an assumption of the argument? What's a good conclusion? How would you evaluate the argument? This sort of thing. So it's all about analyzing arguments. The sentence correction question, now this is really unique to the GMAT. They present a sentence with an underlined phrase that may or may not contain grammar errors, logical problems, etc. The choices present alternatives to the underlined phrase, and you have to find the best way to phrase that sentence. It's very important to appreciate GMAT sentence correction tests grammar as well as logic and rhetorical construction. So people get fixated on the grammar and they think it's only a test of grammar. No, I'd say grammar is about 1/3, logic is about 1/3. In other words, is what the sentence is saying really making sense, and rhetorical construction is the way that the sentence is saying it, the best way to say it. All of these are important on the GMAT sentence correction. So individual questions have individual strategies. These will be outlined in all the Magoosh lesson videos, but there's a magic one-word piece of strategy that can improve your entire verbal score. Here is that magic one word: read. If you want to be good at the verbal section, and especially if you're coming to English as a second language, you need to make a habit of reading every single day. Read journals, read academic sources, read good, challenging material in English that will attune your ear to English grammar and accustom you to arguments and wrestling with deep ideas. This is the best way to improve your verbal performance.